Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 17, Episode 16. Here at this channel we do a different type of therapeutic review where we get a little curious and we try to see, what could be happening internally for these couples. We try not to jump to conclusions or judgments or assumptions, but we really try to come from a place of really wondering, what could be happening? Why are they showing up in this way? And so we can learn potentially a little bit about relationships and potentially about ourselves. If you are returning, welcome back. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into it. First we have Chloe and Michael. And they are in the honeymoon stages still, right? This is still, I think, day 4 or 5 that they are married. And they have woken up together after Chloe named her concerns and spoke for the part of her that was panicking, that she had a good night rest. She was actually able to sleep. And so she named that. She said, too, that there was a part of her that was expecting for Michael to put up a fight. Instead, he just made space for her to say what she needed to say and that he was going to be there for her. And so Michael said that he would really potentially, as they're moving together and moving into the shared space, that he would need to lean on her too, because he's never really relocated to another space in Denver before. And Chloe also named too that this was going to be, a bit of an event for her as well. This is new. There's so much newness happening, so it makes sense. And it's really nice that they're naming that. Just us naming what we're feeling can really be helpful, especially when we're speaking for the part of us that is upset. Now, when we're speaking from that, when we're like in it, it can be, sometimes it can expand it more and it can feel overwhelming. But if we can name it, if we're in a space where we can name what we're feeling, like that part of us feels acknowledged, it feels heard. And I really sense like that's what happened with Chloe when she named like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Just naming that, it was like, whew. And she could sleep at night without the panic attacks. And not saying like, oh, it's just that simple. Every situation is different. Everybody is different. Also saying that us being able to acknowledge our feelings and trust ourselves to feel, what would that be like, right? Getting curious about like, oh, what would that be like if we could? And the parts of us that do have concerns about us feeling or saying things maybe that may potentially cause a fight or argument, getting curious about why that is too, because it's probably valid why that is too. So I want to make sure I'm naming that I'm not saying, see how easy it is just to name your feelings, because Michael made space for Chloe to do that, right? Michael makes space for Chloe to do that. Chloe's done some work. And so not every situation is like this. We have some other couples on this show right now that if their partner were to do the same, they may not get those results. So putting that out there too. Like there's a reason why things went well for Chloe and Michael, because there's space for their feelings. They make space. They both practice naming their feelings. And at the same time, we do see with Chloe that there is this part of her that tries to be very like diplomatic when speaking for her feelings, and also tries to like hold in the parts of her that are anxious, like tries to maybe bridle them or stifle them instead of allowing them to express themselves. And we see that a lot during this episode. When Michael starts to show more of his eccentric and feminine side, we see that Chloe is like, wait a second. Okay. And so they are seeing their joint space and checking it out. Chloe says she sees it like, oh, this is great. Really don't need anything. And Michael is saying, naming that he wants to bring in some art to kind of add some life to it. We also see where they are both being like extra considerate. They both have these parts of them that are super accommodating, super considerate. And so I wonder what the opposite end of that is. I'm wondering if there's really parts of them that have preferences, if they're, because this is a new relationship, everything is new, like they're being extra considerate, and will it potentially like backfire? Will parts of them start to get upset around that? But I do see that that's what's happening. Michael gave Chloe more sink space. Chloe gave Michael the bigger closet because he has lots of clothes. So they are leaning in. They're being extra nice and leaning into being really considerate. And Michael even named like, hey, I know that there are going to be bumps in the road. I know that it's not going to be this easy. And at the same time, I really appreciate the fact that she's being so considerate. Speaking of considerate, Chloe named that she usually likes to decompress after a trip, especially a trip with someone, and take some time to herself, as she has some parts of her that are very introverted. And so she needs to like kind of calm herself around that. And Michael, as I'm learning and observing him, he seems to be an external processor. So someone who has to talk out his feelings and talk. He loves to engage and talk with. And I imagine that might be, it seems like it is, might be a little draining for Chloe. And you could see it on her face when she was in that confessional. Like, she looked weary and tired. She also slept, like went to sleep, they said, like at 7:45 at night. So that's a pretty early bedtime. And so she was really tired. I wonder what it would be like for Chloe to tell Michael, hey, can I have a moment to myself? Because there's a part of me that feels like Michael would actually respect that and appreciate that. I don't know that to be true, but there's a part of me that feels like if she were to say, hey, can I just take a walk for a moment? Maybe I'll take take your dogs out for a walk if you're okay with that, or I'll go and just get get some fresh air, and maybe we'll come back for dinner. Is that okay? I just need a moment to myself. I like my parts of me that really like silence, and really like to process my thoughts. Like, I need some of that. Is that okay? I wonder what it would be like for Chloe. I wonder what her concerns or her fears are about that. Why she's feeling so inclined to not say that. Why she's feeling so inclined to like stifle that and just grin and bear through it and power through it. Because it's not necessary. It's not. And it's going to be something that Michael's going to have to learn to notice about Chloe eventually, and something that Chloe's going to have to name too eventually. And so I wonder what's preventing Chloe from doing that. And so the next day, after she wakes up from her long slumber, Michael wakes her up with her coffee. As he said, this is your morning routine. And he has this part of him that's so nurturing, like wants to take care of Chloe, wants to be there with Chloe, and all of this. Like, he is really being so sweet to her, and you can see Chloe really, really appreciates that. Michael is preparing her to see Chloe's place. Like, seeing Chloe's place, he's seeing like, oh, okay, you're not as big of a minimalist as I thought. So there's some decor she has. She has like a really decorative table that's like a chest that's like historical and has some memories connected to it, I believe from like her grandfather, if I'm not mistaken. And so he's like, okay. And also saw her clothes, that she has maybe more clothes than what he initially thought, that the minimalist thing, a part of him maybe thought it was like extreme. And so he's like, okay, I can deal with this. I can make this work. And so then Chloe starts to see this new side of Michael, where he is trying on her jewelry. This like huge pearl necklace. And you can see that Chloe is a bit taken back by this. She's like, I would have never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be dating a man, right, that's so in touch with their feminine side. And then when she's seeing Michael and seeing his space, meeting his animals, his two dogs, and this little cat. His cat was adorable. Remind me of like Grumpy Cat and Garfield had a little baby. That was his cat. And also his closets. He had two closets, and she saw that he has skirts. Okay, so saw they had skirts, and so she's like, oh. And so she's talking to the pets. She's almost like using the pets as emotional support. Like, your dad has skirts. And so I'm wondering what Chloe is really feeling. She's not really saying it. You could tell it's a shock to her system. You can tell it's something that is very new to her. and almost like she really doesn't know how she feels about it. Like, and sometimes when new things happen that you didn't expect, that catch you off guard, you need to sit with it and see, because there could be different parts of you that have different thoughts about all of it. Like, oh, okay, well, I guess maybe, it's not that bad, right? Or, oh my goodness, like, what are people going to say? Like, what is my mom going to say, right? So, like, all of that is happening. I'm not saying those specific things, but there's like all of her parts are coming up with different responses to this new information. And so I'm hoping that Chloe will take the time to like really attend to that, because as they sit and they get ready for their meeting with Pastor Cal, Michael asks like, hey, so those earrings you're wearing, which are really cute, like super like cute gold rope hoops, ones that I would love to wear. I love, as you can tell if you haven't watched many of my videos, I love accessories. And so he also does too, and he's like, I just want to wear one. And she's like, well, after I meet with Pastor Cal, you can't. He said, well, not right now, but I'm stating my claim. I'm making it known that I would like to wear one of your earrings. And so I see the struggle that's happening internally for Chloe, and so I'm really, really hoping she leans into that. Pastor Cal touch base with them, like, hey, how are things going? How you feel about Michael's expression of his feminine side? And you could tell there was this part of her that was trying to be like diplomatic and considerate of Michael's feelings, which is lovely. And also, I feel like sometimes we feel like being considerate of someone's feelings means like we don't say the truth. And so we can do both. We can consider their feelings and also name what's happening for us. And so Chloe did say that she asked for certain things from the experts, and she really got that from Michael. Like, he's a dear sweetheart. He's such a sweet soul for her. And she said, now that's something that I value much more than whether someone's going to be shocked about what my husband is wearing when we walk into like a restaurant or what have you. So that means that a part of her is concerned about how people are going to see her, which her being a recovering perfectionist, that's the word she used, that makes sense. Perception, perfection, they kind of go hand in hand a little bit there. And so that's going to be a concern. That's something for her to really attend to. Sometimes we're like, okay, I rather have someone who really treats me well, considers my feelings, hears me out, gives me space, meets me where I am, versus being concerned about what somebody's thinking about his appearance or what he's wearing when we go out together. Yes, and still attending to that part, like still attending to the part of her that's concerned. I feel it's like really important. They did talk about how they have a great emotional connection that's like growing ever so, and how there is attraction, there is chemistry brewing. They talked about how they do want to continue to build that emotional connection before they start to really explore their physical relationship or connection as well. Pastor Cal, in his normal fashion, just is encouraging them to do so and saying, hey, you're married, even though you're not even though you are strangers, you're not strangers, which they confirmed and felt that for themselves as well, but like pushing them to say, you can do it, you can go ahead and do the do. And I get it. It's almost like there's a part of Pastor Cal that believes like that's really how you know your relationship is going well. And I will say, to some degree, there's some truth to that. Your physical relationship, there can be a lot of things that can be impacting that. And when that's not going well in a relationship, there's a reason why that is. And that's tapping into whether it's communication, whether it's respect, whether it's boundaries. If you're not feeling respected by your partner, would you be inclined to really lean into connecting with them physically? No. Not necessarily. Now, you may have the physical urge to do so and still do it, but that's still connected to all of that. So I hear Pastor Cal, and still that's not the full like barometer of how our relationship is going. But I believe you've heard me say this before. If you watch some of my videos, I have a part of me that really is just like, Pastor Cal, let it go. And I'm just also relieved to know that there is that attraction, there is that connection that's growing and building. So it's good to see for them, and I'm hoping that Chloe will start to find her voice a little bit more, and two, that I'm hoping and sensing that Michael, this part of him that is really nurturing, is really accommodating. Like, I'm wondering where that's coming from. Like, and not to say that it's a bad thing. I want to name that, like, not to say it's a bad thing, but I just wonder around it. I really have a lot of curiosity around this part of him that is super accommodating and super nurturing, and wanted to know, like, ooh, what inspired this part to show up this way, and for Michael to show up this way. He encountered some things where he saw like mistreatment of others and was like, I won't do that. I want to be the best, or what have you. I'm curious about it. Just to get to know Michael more, just to really understand again why he's showing up the way he is. Next we have Lauren and Orion. And I warned you that they were going to be on camera. They were going to be on camera this episode, and they're coming to the retreat. Orion arrives first, and he brought some beer for Ryan to drink and kind of connect in that way. And he said he's a little nervous. And he's also like excited about seeing Lauren, right, and having some conversations with her. Lauren arrives a little later, around the time where they're all having dinner, and or after the group dinner, and Lauren says that she's a bit disappointed that Orion at the wedding with Chloe and Michael, he talked about how he wanted them to be friends, but she said there's been no contact, no effort, and friendship takes effort. And you can see when she said that the hurt that's still pretty fresh around their marriage, you could still see that underneath the surface. Right? So she's like, I'm not going to put myself out there if he's not putting forth effort. I've done that before. I'm not doing that again. Like, that's what I'm sensing that's there. And Lauren stated that she is really exhausted. She's really exhausted with Orion not really following through on what he says he's going to do. It's almost like what I'm hearing is like a part of her gets some hope. Like, oh, he's going to do this, and then it doesn't happen, and then like the disappointment. So like that ride, that roller coaster is exhausting. It hurts. It's painful. It's taxing. So it, like, her naming that, understood. And she's saying that she's just really looking forward to connecting with the wives, and has like no expectation from Orion at all. And so Orion, you could see at the table with the other couples, like, he's trying to make eye contact with Lauren, and she's not having it. Like, she's not making eye contact. You could see even the disappointment on his eyes of like, oh, okay, she's not looking my way. And so Lauren named that, she was a bit indecisive about whether she was going to go. She's like, I didn't really see the point of me coming. And it feels like that's a part of Lauren that we've come to know. It's the one that like kind of says things indirectly, as like a little dig. Like, I didn't really see the point of coming, which again, this part isn't like saying something that's not factual. I want to name that too. And at the same time, like, it could have happened where Lauren said, I know that me and Orion aren't never in the best place, but I'm just really here to connect with the girls, and really just get the best I can out of this retreat and out of this experience. But she's like, I really didn't see a point in coming. This is a couples retreat, and to be better for the couples and be better, like, all of that's just like, like little pebbles that are being thrown Orion's way, because the hurt is there, right? Because the hurt is there. It's still fresh. It's still like, oh, you said you were going to be friends. We were going to be friends at the wedding, and nothing, no follow through, no nothing. And so she said that sometimes she feels like, and I'm even getting a sense that this is a thing, and I'll give more clarity around that, where she feels like when Orion is talking in front of others, that he's not necessarily saying things that are truthful. And we know Orion does have a hard time with the truth. Like, truth is conflict, which is usually honest when you're talking about your real feelings about something that's uncomfortable to Orion. And this is a conflict situation. And so it's like when he's communicating to the rest of the group and saying like, I know Lauren and I aren't in the best place, but I'm really just looking forward to, Lauren, I don't know why, but I'm just really, really excited for you to be here. And it's like his voice goes up a few octaves when he talks from this space, whenever he's in a space where he's talking from a place of like trying to avoid conflict, trying to say something that would maybe fix it or avoid like a headbutting situation, that he goes like to this higher register voice. This part of him does that, and it's like an indication, almost like, like, oh, whatever Orion's saying right now is probably not what he's really feeling. And that's what it seems like is happening at this table, and also why Lauren, it seems like even she's picked up on that, and she's not even giving him much facial reaction or response. Like, her face went completely flat. This part of her is just like, I don't want you to think that any words that you're saying towards me is having any impact at all. And she said, well, it's good to be seen. Like, that's what she said. And I said, okay. So there's still like this barrier and exterior that she's having, like, oh, Ryan, I'm not here for you. And it makes sense to me because, again, the up and down, right? Hope, disappointment. That's a lot to put yourself through in the short span of time that they've had in their relationship. And then afterwards, still like putting the olive branch out there, but then no olives ever grow on it. Then it's like, okay, all right, I'm done. And that's what it really feels like Lauren is. She named that. She was talking with Claire about it. And when they were playing basketball, and she's like, I'm just going to, really be here for me. And I really don't see a point in having any conversation with Orion, which, again, this part of her that's like, it's not worth it. It's used to Orion not being honest. It's used to him just saying things just to say them, to protect himself from conflict, to protect himself from the awkwardness, to protect himself from the uncomfortable, instead of just being honest and about what he's really feeling and thinking. It's going to be definitely a growing edge for Orion for sure. With his relationship with himself and others, because if he's having this hard of a time being honest with others, you can for sure know that that's also happening in his relationship with himself, that he just isn't being honest about what he's really feeling and thinking, even with himself, which is it's like a part of me has just breaks. My heart breaks around that, because if you're not honest with yourself about how you're feeling, then how do you know, right, what you really feel? And so I just imagine like the disconnect that Orion has with himself, and it makes sense why he's showing up in this way. Claire also named she named this as she was getting prepared for the retreat, and also at the retreat, that she is just really trying to focus and really connect with Lauren. And even though there's a part of her that still feels guilty about like having a good time, knowing that Cameron his health is struggling and that he's prioritizing his health. She said, she reaches out and he doesn't respond, and so she knows like that's his focus, and a part of her is taking it personally. Well, I really want, sometimes what we do with the part of us that has feelings, is big feelings that we may feel like aren't logical or rational, that sometimes we'll use logic to medicate or soothe those feelings. And, logic is there's a space for it. And at the same time, logic isn't really soothing, right? Compassion. Yeah. Like I have space for, Claire's feelings around feeling hurt that Cameron isn't reaching back out to her. And I feel like that's something for her to attend to, right? Is that a space where she's experienced that in the past? And so this situation with Cameron is like triggering that. She talked about briefly like past relationships where men weren't expressive about their feelings towards her, like they were more like hiding them. And so I'm wondering if she's experienced some of these behaviors before, and this situation is just like activating that wound. Don't know, but something for her to get curious about and take care of, instead of like using logic to calm it down, or to try to even have like Cameron reassure her, because Cameron is working through his own stuff. You can tell, like I said last week, that he's put a pin in it. He's done and understood. Next, we have Emily and Brennan, and they are packing up for the retreat, getting ready. Emily stated that you could see the part of her that had the hope, like that part has been put somewhere. It's no longer here. This part of her that's like, this, it is what it is. This is who Brennan is. Like, it's really just radically accepting that there's no like hope for their relationship to get better or to improve in the next couple of weeks. Like, this is it. And she's like, I don't have many hopes for the retreat. She's like, I feel kind of blah. That's the word she used. And she said she's just ready to focus less on us, meaning her and Brennan, and she just wants to have fun with the rest of the people in the retreat. Like, just lean in and have fun with everybody. Have one last like hurrah before the retreat ends, like just to enjoy themselves. She did also name, though, that a part of her is hoping that Brennan will realize his lack of effort. And I'm wondering, yeah, this part of her that is hoping that, what it feels will be the result of that. Like, or if Brennan realizes that he's not putting forth effort, then what, will Brennan start to put more effort? Will Brennan apologize and acknowledge her feelings? Like, what is she hoping for? Because if that's what she's like, if she's hoping for like the acknowledgement of like, I'm sorry I did you so wrong, like, I'm wondering if like Emily can take care of her too in that regard. Not to say that Emily's wrong for wanting that, because I mean, Brennan has, as it seems like there's definitely parts of him that aren't really aware of how he has been showing up in this experience for her, and so it makes sense why she's wanting him to be aware, right? And also, he is limited. That's a limitation that he has, and sometimes we have these expectations because of some unmet needs. If this is coming from like her relationship with her dad, like, oh, I just want my dad to realize like how much pressure he used to put on me for sports and how that had an impact on me, like all of that. Like, is this coming from another place? And so that's what I'm saying, for her to really get curious about that, because it's going to continue to show up in other ways. And so they get to the retreat. They're on their way getting to the retreat. They talk a little bit about what they're believing, like Chloe and Michael are doing on the honeymoon, how it's going, and how they're looking forward to catching up with them. And also, too, they get there and Brennan said, so, separate beds, right? And so it's almost like, did they have this conversation already? It seems like from Brennan's side, that they did, but it also feels like from Chloe's side, she says, like, I'm not surprised that he opted for that. And it doesn't seem like that was a conversation. He just made a decision, which seems like the dynamic, how that relationship's been going. Like, Brennan makes the decisions and Emily's supposed to just go along with them. And so Brennan named that he feels like Emily and him are on the same page, and they're just focusing on the friendship and taking the pressure off, because now that the pressure's off, things are better. And I'm wondering, like, ooh, what's the pressure? What is, I wonder what the pressure feels like for Brennan, what pressure he's naming. I know he's talking about the relationship, like working on the marriage, but I feel like the word he's using is pressure, and I don't know if that's, I just want to know more. Like, a part of me feels like he is saying that just like he doesn't want to be married to Emily. Like, instead of saying pressure, saying like, I'm just glad that we're realizing we're just friends, because that's all I really want from Emily at this time, like us just to hang out. And so Emily is, you could tell there's some sting around not having the same rooms and sleeping in separate beds. She's talking about that with Becca and kind of getting some snacks and soothing, right, that hurt around that. And she stated that she's not getting her hopes up with Brennan because the more she gets her hopes up, the more she gets disappointed. So we hear it again, right? Same with Lauren. We see it with Emily. It's part of her that's like, I know he cared about me at the beginning. I know he did. I know that spark was there. It's like she's tired. She's tired of getting hurt. Like, let's just accept it. Let's accept where we are. And so they did name that they are going to do ATVs and booked it as they have done all the different types of adventures and elements, done the water, and so now they're doing the earth and the sun and all of this. And Austin said, well, I hope you wipe out and crash. And I said, oh, Austin's gonna feel bad about these words that he says, because that's exactly what happened. That Emily, and a part of me didn't even want to watch it, because my heart isn't strong enough to watch, someone being injured in that way. And it was like, ooh, it was such a tragic accident. I'm glad that she is okay, but in the moment of it, they talked about this at the after party, how she was concerned, like she didn't know if she could still see out of her eye because of the severe injury. Like, I don't even want to list the gory details. If you saw it, you saw it. And that she didn't know if she was going to be okay. So we also see that Brennan was very, very concerned about Emily, and if she was going to be okay. He was with her. He was there. And so, I mean, that happened. I don't really want to make meaning about that, because we don't know. We don't know, oh, that means that he's really about to, we don't know. It's obvious that, of course, he cares about her as a person, and wants her to be okay. And that's something that you would extend to, I would hope, anyone. But it doesn't, I don't want to jump to conclusions around what his concern towards Emily is meaning about their relationship, because again, I really sense that he's done with the marriage aspect of their relationship. So again, so glad that Emily is okay. But oh my goodness, the accident was scary, and it was a lot to watch. And even to the scenes that they show in the next episode of her in the hospital and all of that, it's just like, ooh, okay. My heart was going out to her during this episode. Last, we have Becca and Austin. And so they are packing up. They're packing up, going to the retreat. They talked about their hopes, and we know what Becca's hopes are. She's been hinting ever so, and even throughout the trip. And Austin said that he's, expecting to relax and hope to enjoy the sights and get away, and maybe even have some great alone time in a bedroom that's secluded. And she's like, oh, what are you expecting to happen? So there's part of her that's using humor to make light of it, even though she really wants to know what's going to happen. I want to know that this is something we're going to work on, but this part of her is using humor to try to make light of it. Austin said, well, we're gonna work on some of the things that Dr. Pia has told us to, and we're gonna make out, and she's like, great. There's still this expectation for things to really connect, for them to finally consummate the marriage. That's what I'm really sensing for Becca quite a bit. Even when she was with Emily, naming, yeah, well, I hope I get some action. This is something she's really, really wanting from Austin. Now they get to the house. They see how beautiful it is, how big it is. I did hear him name that, ooh, I want to sleep in the big room. Once they find out who the house belongs to, I guess it's the Broncos football player, or it's the best Bronco football player. I don't, of all times, that I don't know. I'm not an expert on football per se. But he's really excited. At the after party, he said he was fangirling, and he was like, I have to go and spend the night, like spend the night in that room. Like that's what he wanted to do. He did mention it like as they were walking through the house. Maybe Becca didn't hear. But also Becca named this in her confessional that Austin was pretty inebriated, drunk at the end of the night, and they were getting to the bed, and they had plans that this is what they were going to do, and then he just gets up and he leaves, and he says to her, well, I'm going to this room, you can come if you want. And she said she really didn't feel like invited, like that was an invitation. It was just like, you can come if you want. But he said, he didn't say things in the best way because he was drunk, and he just she said, well, are we going to do something? Again, this part of her is like, well, I'll come if something's going to happen. He's like, I don't know, and just walked off. And so she said he apologized afterwards as they talked about it. I wonder what this conversation was about, how it went, and I wonder how Becca's feeling. It's almost like she's also withholding her true feelings around this, and I don't know. I feel like there's more avoidance that's happening around intimacy with Austin that he's not naming, it seems. And so, that's such a delicate topic and a delicate subject. There could be so many reasons why someone may be really reluctant to connect to someone physically. So, I don't want to make light of that. And at the same time, I sense like there's more than just like, hey, we're still getting to know each other. It feels like there's more. That's just what I sense. And so they have this couples massage that's pretty interesting. This man's like beating them with these like leaves in the sauna, and then come to find out he really didn't work at the facility. He just like volunteered because he was like a customer that loves the spa, and so that was a bit interesting. But they said that it was a great massage. It was really relaxing. They had times where they like plunged into the cold water and then got into the sauna and had some more massaging at the end of it. So the spa day really helped them to connect. They were feeling connected and really leaning into their emotional connection and trying to build their intimacy with each other. I don't know. There's so much here with them. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts about how you feel about Austin's exit of the bedroom, and if you feel like there's some things that's underlining with his like hesitancy to be intimate with Becca. Tell me your thoughts about how you're feeling around Orion and Lauren and their dynamic here at this retreat. How you're feeling about Brennan and Emily, how he responded to Emily after this huge accident that was it was a lot to see. And how are you feeling about Chloe and Michael as she's getting to see so many different sides of Michael and his personality and how he shows up? And how do you feel Chloe is really thinking and feeling about all of this? Let me know your thoughts. And if you're still with us, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, be cool, be calm, be centered. Peace.